So last night on CNN, Chris Cuomo had on Hillary Rosen and Nina Turner. Hillary Rosen is a Joe Biden surrogate and Nina Turner is a Bernie Sanders surrogate. And the conversation eventually went on to the legacy of Martin Luther King and his criticism of the quote-unquote white moderate. And Nina Turner was 100% right in noting that Martin Luther King felt the white moderate was perhaps the biggest danger to racial and social justice because they pretended to support working people and African American people as long as they protested in the right manner, as long as they left everyone who was comfortable and let them stay comfortable, and on and on and on and on. And in doing that, they really prevented the pursuit of genuine justice, of genuine change, of meaningful reform to help those who are marginalized. Hillary Rosen took it upon herself to criticize Nina Turner because she felt this was an attack on Joe Biden, who is likely seen by most people as the quintessential white moderate. Now, I want to play you a small clip from this interaction, and you'll see how Hillary Rosen demonstrates such disrespect towards Nina Turner, but how Nina Turner absolutely destroys Hillary Rosen and does so with aplomb.
Chris, what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about, he said it is the point that the white moderate wants things to be comfortable, and instead of focusing in on that, the bigger threat is not necessarily the white KKK member, but more the white moderate that is more comfortable with keeping things the same or pretending like there is no tension.
Don't use Martin Luther King against Joe Biden. You don't have that. You don't have that standing.
First of all,
I'm sorry, you don't.
Don't tell me what kind of standing I have as a black woman in America. How dare you?
You have a lot of standing as a black woman in America. You don't have the standing to attack Joe Biden using Martin Luther King's words.
I didn't attack anybody. You're taking it that way. Listen, don't dip into what I have to say about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How dare you, as a white woman,
I'm not going to own that.
Try to tell me
that is not what I said. Don't you do that.
So what you can see there was Hillary Rosen trying to tell an African American woman how she can or cannot use the legacy of Martin Luther King. And further to that, she's actually incorrect here when she says that the silence of the white moderate is what Martin Luther King criticized. She's wrong. We can pull up an excerpt of that speech from Birmingham that Martin Luther King gave, and we can read portions of it to see that he's criticizing the white moderate even when they were speaking because of how they articulated themselves on the process of social change. So here he says, "First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. Not just the silence of the white moderate, but the white moderate itself, the white moderate themselves." He notes here that they are worse in many ways than the hardcore, explicitly racist groups that populate the United States because they are seen as friends until they're not. And it notes here the white moderate who constantly says, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action." Or the person who lives by a mythical concept of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. This is Joe Biden. It's not just Joe Biden as it pertains to racial justice, but also to environmental justice, to justice for working class people, to justice for all sorts of marginalized folks. I agree with your cause, but I don't agree with your actions. I don't agree with your radicalism. I don't agree that now is the time. Now is the time to appease the white moderate. Now is the time to look to the Republicans for friendship, and we'll defeat Donald Trump, and then African Americans, and then working class people, and then other marginalized folks. We will give a damn about your concerns. And if you speak up now and you sound too angry, or you sound too passionate, or you sound too engaged for social change, then I cannot support you because you make me, Joe Biden, the white moderate, feel uncomfortable. Nina Turner was 100% correct to make this allusion here, without a doubt. And Hillary Rosen trying to defend Joe Biden, trying to distort the words of Martin Luther King, was 100% off base. And this shows the fundamental tension of the Biden approach, because Joe Biden is undeniably succeeding in large part because he's getting the votes of African Americans. But it's clear his campaign doesn't understand the legacy of Martin Luther King and what it means to the African American community, to the American left, and to the broader American society. And it really does show that he's not in it for the social change people need. He really isn't. He's not there to fight for even the basic forms of justice. Joe Biden is there to keep things exactly as they are. Maybe not any worse, although maybe he will make things worse, but certainly not any better either. He's told the rich and wealthy and well-connected that nothing will fundamentally change. But we know for African Americans, for other racialized people, for working class people, for young people, for a whole bunch of people, things need to fundamentally change. If we want to build a just society, if we want to fight climate change, if we want to end racism. And so Nina Turner summoning Martin Luther King in this moment was a real powerful and perfectly legitimate rebuke of Hillary Rosen and Joe Biden and the Democratic Party's leadership, which is overpopulated with white moderates. It's time we challenge that if we want to build a broad, diverse, inclusive, working class movement to defeat Donald Trump, win the presidency, and change things for everyone forever for the better. And Bernie Sanders is the president for that. Bernie Sanders, of course, isn't perfect. Bernie Sanders, of course, can't on his own represent the African American community. Bernie Sanders needs to do better to reach out to segments of the African American community that aren't convinced by him. But Bernie Sanders is not a white moderate. He never has been. He never will be. Bernie Sanders is the sort of white ally that marched with Martin Luther King and other black activists fighting for social and political and racial and economic justice. He is that, and he will always be that. He's not the white moderate that Martin Luther King worried about. He's not Joe Biden.